Hello and welcome back. This is Sherry with Heart and Soulful in the studio today with another stencil making video. We are on, I believe, episode 6 of Stencil Making 2.0. So if you're brand new to my channel, welcome. I hope if you enjoyed this video that you'll give me a thumbs up and click on subscribe and then the little bell so you receive notifications when I do post a new video. So we are deep into the series. The first series that I did on stencil making was Stencil Making 101. I would put the link to the playlist down below so you can start from the very beginning. I cover all the basics there for people who have a machine, don't have a machine. I found from comments that it seems like the ideas and things that I'm presenting in these videos also translate to other cutting machines and other types of software. So I hope even if you don't use what I'm using that you'll find value in these videos. So we're in Stencil Making 2.0 now, where I have introduced other software, and we're in, I think, our third video, I think, on Procreate. So in the last video, I showed the first two. The first one, basic tools of Procreate. I'm using my Cricut Maker to cut the stencils, but you can always design there, print them out, and cut them out by hand as well. So in the last video was cutting asemic writing stencils. So both Japanese kind of representative characters and then just kind of scribbly writing. So we covered how to make 3 different types of stencils using those. And so I cut out the one that I did on camera. And so this was it. I ended up doing it in a 3x6, and I did miss a couple of spots, and you can kind of see those in my stencil. I missed cleaning up this one here, and then maybe I should have done a little bit here. But otherwise, I like it. This is what it looked like printed out with the other stencils that I had already made, just as kind of a little sample. So today, though, I'm really excited because this is probably one of my favorite ways to make stencils so far using Procreate. I've only been using it a short time, but if you remember back in my first series 101, my favorite thing then was using fonts to create really amazing stencils. This is right up there with that. And to do this today, we're going to be learning about drawing guides. I did use them a little bit in the last video, but we're going to go a little deeper in that today. And then also about how shapes and quick editing works for shapes. So we're going to need to know that for the type of stencils we're going to do, because they're more hand drawing, kind of doodly kind of things. So I'm going to show you the examples of ones that I have already made, just so you can again see the size of the stencil, and then I'll show you on the iPad so you can kind of see the size of the pencil that I used to create the thickness of the lines, because again, all of these stencils were made where whatever my drawn line is, that is what is left behind for the stencil. So that thickness of your pencil really matters. So this one I actually did using the drawing guides I'm going to show you today with actually asemic writing. So we'll kind of look at that a little bit, but that is the scale of this stencil. And then this one I kind of did using kind of my own style of doodling. If you've watched my videos for a while, you know that sometimes in the evening I would just doodle in a mixed media book. And this is kind of the style of those. So you can see the difference as far as how much open space and how detailed they are, and the thickness of this pencil for how close together everything is. So this is a little bit too busy in some ways for how thick this pencil is, where having this open space might be a little bit better, depending on what you want to use it for. So again, that's kind of what that one looked like. But it's a great texture if you're, looking for that. And so this one then again is a little bit thicker in some areas, thinner in others, and then a lot of open space. I thought this one would be fun to even then go back in with paint pens or markers and doodle inside, or draw inside of these, or using it for layering stencils because it has so much nice open space. So that's that one. This one I did using a much thinner pencil, and I really like how that one came out. Again, this is great for layering because there's a lot of nice open space and just kind of a real organic feel to that one. And then this is the one most recent one I did. And I really like this one. Has kind of an Art Deco feel to it, but that's the same stencil. And this is what it looks like. Again, this one has some nice, a variety of open space and then more fine detail. So you kind of just play around. I'm going to show you the tools that we'll need to do these today, but they're a lot of fun, and they're actually for how much is going on in these stencils, they're actually really quick to do. So let me grab my iPad. Okay, so I'm in Procreate and I'm just going to choose a new paper, and I'm still working on 11 by 8.5, using 2 fingers with some pressure to turn my paper the way I want, because I don't want to move my iPad while I'm recording, okay? So you can do any size that you want. I'm just using this because it's close to the size finished size stencil that I want. So the first thing that I want to show you is quick shapes and how to edit those, because we'll need that in the next step. So if you are wanting to draw a shape, and let's first look at what pencil we're using. So I'm clicking on my brush library and I'm on monoline. Again, if I go to my recents, my 2 favorite for the first one that I'm going to show is either the monoline or the script. The script has tapered ends, and I don't know that I want that. So I think for purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and just use the monoline. It has nice rounded edges. So that way you can kind of connect lines better and you don't have a thicker and thin line. So we're going to click on that just to look at kind of the way our brush is going to act. So I'm going to click on stabilization. And for this, because we're going to be doing more doodle type drawing, play around with your these adjustments here. I've got the stabilization right now is at 46, and it just allows me to have a little bit smoother of a line as I go. So that kind of can be a little bumped up from when we were trying to actually write words. We didn't kind of like how much that was dragging, but we do like the smoothness if we're trying to kind of create some shapes. So I have that about 46. Motion filtering, you can bump that up again also. And I have that at 26, and expression I have at 18. Just play around with those and kind of see how it feels to you if you were just going to be doing some kind of little doodling things. Okay, so then click on done, and I have that set. Again, if you want to save this brush so you can find it, once you have it in recents, if you slide left here, you can, I have it pinned already, you would pin it and it would put that star there. That's so that I know it's one of my favorites. If I want to find where that brush is located, I would click on find, and it's going to be in calligraphy. So I'm using, like I said, monoline, which is found in calligraphy. Okay, so we're going to click on that. And as far as the size, you have the slider here again that will help you adjust the size. For this monoline, it's not a very thick pencil, so this is all the way up, and I'll maybe use that just because that's going to be easier for you to see, I think. So, and that is actually an okay size for a thinner stencil, so we'll leave it at that. Okay, so the first thing again is shapes. So if I were to try to draw a circle, I'm not very good at drawing and it doesn't look like circle. So as long as I have not lifted my pencil, you saw that I went kind of from my not great circle and I held it down and it created a circle for me. Now, once I've lifted that, I can't do anything. If I draw it again and hold it down, it's going to make it more even. And as long as I keep my pencil down, I can adjust the size and I can rotate it. But that's all that I can do. When I lift my pencil, up here it says the word ellipse. Procreate is going to try to decide what shape it thought you were trying to make based on your drawing. If you click on this little down arrow, if you were close to a circle and it thought you were trying to make a circle, it will give you ellipse, which is what you made, and a circle. So if I click on the circle option, it's going to make it a perfect circle. If I click back on ellipse, it's making it an ellipse. Either way, it's giving me these 4 blue dots. And what that's going to allow me to do is to edit this shape. So I can make it larger, smaller, skinnier, more of an elliptical shape again. I can actually move it around my paper. So I can maybe combine shapes to create a picture. So say I wanted these 3 things to be connected. I can't do anything with those 2, but I can move that one still. And so now it kind of looks like a little mouse with ears. So that would be how I can edit something. Once you're finished editing, you can tap off to the side and it takes that away. Now I cannot go back and edit this ever again. I can use my back arrow and it will take me to the original shape I was trying to make, but it won't let me edit it. So anything I do, it's going to think I'm trying to create another shape. Okay, so that is kind of one thing. It's going to let me edit that one now. Okay, it will work the same way with a square. And it's calling it a polyline because I didn't really make a square, but it's going to give me the option of an ellipse, a circle, or that polyline. And what that means is there is something that's not connected. So it has those blue dots that I can change my shape, and I can go to ellipse or circle still and change those shapes, but it won't let me do anything once I have tapped off to the side. Okay, so it will also work with a triangle, same thing. And if I click up here, it's only letting me do a polyline because that's what I guess it thought I was making. So I've kind of gotten in the habit of, no matter what I have made, especially if I'm just designing something with kind of nothing in mind, I'm not trying to make anything specific, I will always click on the editing just because maybe it allows me to do something that I wasn't even planning on, and I get kind of a happy accident. So just kind of play around with that. So that is my little demo for the shapes. If you're trying to do something like, say, a heart shape, it doesn't work the same with that, with curved shapes in that way. It's going to sharpen all the edges. Same thing if I tried to do a little flower. It just makes those all kind of sharp corners. It still will let me edit it, but with only those sharp lines. So it won't round those again. So kind of what I have gotten in the habit of doing, let's see if I can clear that, is I'll start a shape and then it'll let me edit that arch. So I can kind of change the shape of this. So it won't let me make it not be rounded, I don't think, no. Then I can make the other half if I wanted. And it will let me edit that. That way, if I have any little connection here that doesn't meet right where I want it to, I can kind of adjust that so that I have those corners touching where I want them to. So that's just kind of how you can do more complex shapes, or if you wanted to do a flower, you could just maybe do one petal. I can edit that one if I want, maybe do the next petal. And then if I need to maybe make this connection better, I can do that here. Click on that and then maybe make the other petal and kind of go from there. So any sort of complex shape, rather than think that you could do this whole thing, it's going to just make that an ellipse. I lost that pointy end. So in order to keep that, I needed to maybe do it in parts. And then I can edit that last one if I needed to connect those. Okay, so let's clear that again. You can swipe with 3 fingers if you can get practiced at that, or you can just hit clear and under layers. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how we're going to draw those more complex looking drawings quick. So if you go up here to that toolbar, we're going to go over to Canvas again, and we're going to click on Drawing Guide, which is what we did last time, and it's going to give us this graph. Click on Edit Drawing Guide, and then go over to Symmetry. It's going to default at vertical symmetry, where you have 2 pieces. What that means is once I clicked on Done, it would allow me, let me just do that, to draw a shape, and it's repeating what I did on the other side as a mirrored image. If I wanted to edit this, it's going to edit the side that I was drawing on, but it's also going to do any changes I make on the other side also. So that's kind of one way to do things like a heart or a star or something like that, that you want it to be a perfect shape. Okay, so we would have that shape. Now the other thing that we can do is we can go over here to tool edit drawing. This is sort of the angle that it is. It defaults at vertical halfway, but I can use this little green dot and I can move it sideways like this. I'm going to click on done, and now it's going to do that same thing but on the diagonal where I had the line. And then same thing, I can edit that if I needed to make those connections better. Okay, so let's clear that one. And then we're going to go back to Tool, Edit Drawing Guide, Symmetry, and let's go down here to Options. So it had defaulted at the vertical. You can also do it on the horizontal, and it's going to move that line horizontally, same, just two parts. And again, that green dot is here if I wanted to adjust that angle at all. If I go back to Options, it also lets me do a quadrant. So now I have 4 pieces. It will still let me angle that if I wanted with this green dot. You see those lines rotating, or I can leave it the way that it was. If I click and I'm not sure I'm quite even, just tap it and then click reset and it'll put it back where it was. So let's try this one, and we're going to click on done. Now if you watch, it mirrored what I did on the top and on the bottom because I was doing one of the vertical lines. If I want to have my design where it's kind of one way this way, and then say this I want to be a different shape, go back because I held it too long. It's going to do mirror whatever I did on my horizontal line. And you can create a whole design that way. I did this in the middle, so it did all of them. Again, if I just do this one, and then maybe I do that. But it makes it so much faster because you can just draw on one section and it's going to mirror that side in these quadrants. So let's clear that because I want to show you another thing you can do. Go back to Tools, Drawing Guide, Options. I'm still on quadrant. If I do this rotational symmetry, turn that on and click on Done. Now anything I do is going to be on all 4 lines. And you notice when I held my pencil down, it made those lines sharp. If I want them to stay rounded, it will give me that ellipse. And then I can actually, before I lift my pen up, I can see if maybe I like that and want to use it. I don't really like that. If I wanted to have my original shape that I made, I just click that back and it'll leave that for me, kind of looking like a flower petal, even though it's not perfect. So you can just kind of doodle anything that you want. Now see, because I held it there, it made it a straight line, but I can just go back. So these complex shapes like this, it's not going to make those maybe more perfect than you did. So you would have to hit that back arrow and then, you know, just do it a second time if you need it a little cleaner. And don't leave your pencil down. And then the same thing is if you made a mistake, say you did something and you didn't like that, or you wanted to make that open, you could click on your eraser and just erase something here. And if you notice, it's erasing it on all in each one. So it's just kind of a fun way to do a quick symmetrical design. Let's clear that. And we're going to go to the next one. Again, edit drawing guide, options, and we're going to do radial. And I'm going to go ahead and turn this rotational symmetry off again. Now I have the 4 lines I had before, but now I also have them cut on the diagonal. So now I have 8 pieces. So let's click on done and see what happens. So for this one, if I do a line here, it does them on all 4. Okay, and I can edit this. It doesn't quite touch there. So maybe I want to edit that so that they overlap a little better. And when you're doing it on the where you originally drew your line, that's where you can edit. You'll see the dots there. Your pencil is kind of in the way, so you're moving this one, but you kind of have to look at these other ones just to see if you're lined up where you want to be. And then again, you click that off, and now that's there. And the same thing, if I want to do a design on these other sides, and click back so that I have the design there curvy. It did it on just the diagonal ones. Okay, so that's with the rotational symmetry off. But it's kind of fun because then you can have kind of a more interesting design where everything is not exactly the same. Okay, now let's clear that one. And we're going to go back, click on the tool, edit drawing guide, options. Now we're going to turn the rotational symmetry on. And we still have it on radial, and click on done. Now when I do a design, and I can edit that so that it meets better. It does it on each of those 8 lines. And that's, I think, on the one where I did the asemic writing. You can even kind of, write something that looks like a word. And then maybe I do something else there. And again, if I want this to be a stencil, I need for things to touch. So maybe I want to go back and I want to actually touch that one. And so now that could be a stencil, and I can just continue my design. But you see how quick this is. And then you have a finished stencil in just a few seconds. So play around with that. That is, such a fun way. You can do all sorts of things. Let me show you one that's kind of fun. If you say you do something that's like a swirly thing. Now, those dots are there because I kind of skipped my pen a little bit. And I can move that line over to cover that mistake. But the fun thing is when you're editing, you can really, twist and twirl things around, and you might come up with an entirely different design than you were intending to do. And so it's a lot of fun. It kind of reminds me of those spirographs that we used to have. Something like that. Anyway, you can see that the sky's the limit with this, just doodling and doing different shapes. Okay, so again, say this is our finished design, we would do the same thing that I've shown in every other video. I'll go through it super fast in case this is the first one that you've watched, because I cover this is how we kind of finish it up and get it into our Cricut Maker. But if you've watched from the beginning, this is going to be repetitive. So you're going to go up here to Tools again, Share, PNG. I'm going to save the image so it goes to my photos. I'm going to get out of this and go to Adobe Capture, and I'm going to import image from my camera roll. It's going to be the last thing that I did. It brings it up. I'm on Shapes, click on the check, click on Smooth, and turn that on. And that's going to get rid of all my pixelated lines. So it has smoothed everything out. Now, one thing I'm going to point out, because you can do this from here, is I see a tiny little white dot. Once it's smoothed it, that would be a little hole that would be cut out. It's not big enough to be useful in this case, so I either want to fill it in or make it larger. So you can go here to Refine, and I can either grab an eraser, or I can go to a brush and make it small and just fill all those in. So you can correct some easy things from here rather than go back to Procreate. And then from here, I would just click on Done, and then I would save it. It's going to save it as an SVG automatically, and there it is. So I would just click on that. I can give it a name if I wanted to. I'm not going to do that. Click on Save. And now it's saved. I would click on the three dots, share that, export it as an SVG, and then I would airdrop it to my computer, which is not turned on right now. So you airdrop it to your computer and then go into your Cricut Design Space or Silhouette or whatever you're using, or you can just print it out and cut it out by hand. You would cut out all the little white spots. So I won't finish this one in this video, but I've done this in previous videos. So you already know how to do this. And so that was my share for today. You're going to have so much fun playing around with this. I do have maybe another 1 or 2 videos in Procreate that I want to do. And then I may get on to something else, doing some gel printing and showing you what I do with my stencils. Just some different ideas. So that's it for today. Have a great rest of your day. Now go make something. Bye.